on. It's a bad ADHD day. I had a long day at work, so my brain cells just like, no, we're not functioning anymore. And I'm gonna be doing a teaching segment like this. Anyways, we've talked about women and men, now we gotta talk about the worst of them all. Children. So tonight we're talking about Demeter and all of her children and the cult of Demeter, because honestly Demeter has so few stories that do not involve her children. There's like maybe like 5 I found that didn't, maybe 3 I found that didn't involve any of them. So Demeter was the daughter of Kronos and Rhea. We've seen them before, same parents as Zeus and all of them. She was the goddess of agriculture. Not many stories are known about her that do not involve Persephone. Like, a lot of the stories just talk about whenever she was grieving the loss of her daughter and wandering around. During the time, she wandered around Greece and found the town of Eleusis, which is where my party went last week. Demeter was traveling in the guise of an old woman at the time, and her grief was represented by her aging and weak form. When she reached Eleusis, she was greeted by and comforted by the kind-hearted, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, Triptolemos. No, we're just gonna call him Trip. We're gonna call him Trip. Make him cooler. Make him sound a lot cooler than he is. But Trip, in some stories, was actually the child that she watched that was the son of the king, and the king and queen welcomed her, so that's why she teaches him. To show appreciation for the hospitality, she taught him how to work the land, how to plow, how to fend for themselves. The Eleusinian mysteries were then farmed? Farmed is not what I meant to say, but you know what? We're talking about Demeter, so it works. Formed much later, and which the party actually met in the last session as well. They worshipped Demeter and would reenact the kidnapping return of Persephone to honor her as a ritual, which is what the cultists were doing. So not much is known about the mysteries other than any citizen who was invited to join must keep the mysteries a secret. First rule of Fight Club, punishable by death. But I also learned something as I was writing all this. So guys, we get to do a I fucked up in real time. So the ritual festival I'm referencing in the last session is a 3-day ritual. I thought it was always just reenacting the kidnapping and return of Persephone, not just Demeter's grief in it. So I was having them basically like return to the temple to like represent the underworld, where they stay a few days, waiting. No, apparently the ritual is something called the Thesmophoria. Final answer. The Thesmophoria, and it was not just a recreation of the events like I thought. So the Thesmophoria represented the bonds between Demeter and Persephone, and saw women going through Demeter's cycle of mourning and joy, although regional variants did exist for it as well, lasting 3 days. The first day, the women would be mourning, abstaining from sex, joy, washing, some areas food. In Eretia, women were allowed food but not fire, so they wanted a cooked meal, they had to rely on the sun's heat. On the second day, the women would engage in obscenity and break taboos on sexuality, engaging in vulgar talk, drinking, potentially drug usage too, but it's not certain. On the last day, the women would then pray to Demeter and Persephone, as well as Calogenia, the goddess of beautiful offspring, and I'll get this name too, Trophius, the Pokemon, the nurse of children. Still Tropius. So, Demeter, despite being a motherly and like more calm figure, was also a ruthless bitch sometimes. So we're gonna talk about some of those stories. First one was Assyrion. He destroyed a sacred grove to Demeter, including a tree that was covered in symbolic wreaths for every favor Demeter gave the humans. And it had a dryad living within it as well. The dryad cried out to Demeter, and Demeter listened. She affected his body so that he had an insatiable hunger. The more he ate, the hungrier he felt. Eventually, after spending all his money, selling his belongings, even selling his own daughter into slavery, he finally ate his own body. Which is why I gave the item the spell Hunger on it, in reference to this guy, and the one of the curses that Demeter caused. He was also Salabus? I don't know how to say his name either. He mocked Demeter for her excessive intake of wine while she was wandering around, because his mother invited her into her home while she was looking for Persephone, and she drank a lot, and so the kid made fun of her, and he was cursed to become a gecko. Calantis was burnt alive in his house for not giving Demeter hospitality when she was searching for Persephone. Yeah, he didn't let a stranger into his house and she just burned him alive in it. Totally normal behavior. There was also Mint, who was a lover of Hades before Persephone. She was eventually abandoned when Persephone came around, and she claimed that she could win Hades back, and Demeter was like, nuh-uh, and turned her into a mint plant. Oh gods, it's time for the first content warning for the next little bit. So, content warning for this one. There is a mention of a non-consent given with this story. And incest as well, because it's fucking ancient Alabama. So, to skip to the timestamp, that will be below in the post for those that wanted to avoid it. The Poseidon, for some reason, chased after her, and she transformed into Mare to escape. But he hunted her down as a stallion and forced himself upon her. As a result, she caused a famine while she purified herself, meaning that less offerings went to the gods, so Poseidon got less. So, this one's gonna take a little bit of explaining real quick. I described the creatures that attacked the party as harpies, as opposed to what records technically have them as sirens. This is due to some lore stuff I can't explain yet, but I've chosen to make these their own creature. I'll have a video about the sirens eventually, but just understand I'm going to be calling these guys harpies due to basically fan canon. Only reason these guys are harpies, not the sirens. So these harpies are here because there's two different reasons that they're in this dungeon. One reason is because she either gave the harpies that attended her daughter wings to help her search for Persephone when she went missing, or in my take, and most other tales, they were cursed for not helping look for Persephone. Oh, the little kid we watch is missing. I don't give a fuck about that. Fuck them kids. Yeah, I agree. And Demeter just walks in like, excuse me? What are you saying about my daughter? And curse them all. That's how that went. And then we also had Lyncus, final answer. Cursed to become a lynx because he attempted to kill the prophet of Demeter, the trip guy from earlier. So now we're gonna go over each of Demeter's children that I referenced in this session. So we have Persephone. You all know the story by now. I don't really have to go over it, but basically kidnapped, made Demeter upset. She may have been tricked to eat the pomegranate, we're not entirely sure. May have known the pomegranate would have meant that she stayed in the underworld. May have been force-fed it, apparently. But who knows, it's all different stories, all different takes. Whatever, we're going with the happy wife, happy life option. Ignore the fact Hades is her uncle, again, ancient Alabama. This isn't about her. We're not talking about Persephone for once. We're giving Demeter the spotlight she deserves without Persephone attached. So we're gonna ignore Persephone. Persephone's not real. She can't hurt you. Pay no mind to Persephone. She's gone already. So, Desponia was the daughter of Poseidon, twin of Arion. So, Desponia? No one actually knows her true name. Only the Eleusinian mysteries know her true name, and she was only ever depicted as wearing a veil, as very few gods saw her face even. I don't think Persephone even did. I think it was just Demeter and, like, maybe a couple others. Desponia is also an epithet for several goddesses, especially Aphrodite, Persephone, Demeter, and Hecate. So, really, it's not known who Desponia could have possibly been. Just, she was another daughter of Demeter. Persephone and Demeter are two of the three goddesses of the Eleusinian mysteries. She is the third. Although the epithet Desponia is possibly related to the Mycenaean title Potinia, that usually referred to goddesses. Again, a lot of these children, other than Persephone, there's like very little information on as well. So I'm just pulling out whatever I can find. And then we have Arion, another son of Poseidon. He was a horse, a really fast horse. That's about all he really had going for him. Horse. Arion was given to the hero Heracles, who rode Arion into battle eventually. Actually just behaves like a regular horse. He's just a regular talking horse. Nothing special about him. Doesn't even fly. He is really fast though. That's about all he's got going for him. Fast horse. Speedy horse. And then we have Plutus, which is the one that, dear sweet Platon solved a lot faster than I was anticipating. So he was blinded by Zeus when he was young, so he would be able to spend his gifts without prejudice, as he was the god of wealth and commerce, and especially with growth. Like, it didn't just have to be like coin. Wealth was also seen as the gift of the earth, essentially. He takes his time arriving and is winged, so he leaves faster than he came, is one of the sayings about him. So, like, you get money slowly, you get wealthy slowly, but then it just, like, disappears. Sounds about right. He's often depicted carrying the cornucopia, and that's about all I have on him. And then we have his brother, Philomelus. He is the full brother of Plutus, both children of Demeter, both the same father. He never received wealth, but did a lot of work farming to sustain himself, which made Mama Demeter proud, because that was her whole thing, was agriculture. He was the one that gifted the humans the plow, which is why his gift to humanity was basically attaching the wagon to the ox, to basically make a plow in the last session. Wow, this is gonna be a really short I knew this was gonna be a really short lesson, but, is there one of the last two already? This is what happens here with Demeter. There's, like, very few stories, which is why her dungeon was one of the hardest ones for me to write. Because I had nowhere near as many stories as I had with, like, Poseidon or Zeus or a lot of other ones that you'll see in the very near future. Go check out Artemis' Call on YouTube, it's all there! So, Eubalius. This one's another one that's, like, these next two are the worst ones, honestly, to talk about, because of how little there is. So his epithet may have been the central Orphic god. Don't ask, I don't know what that is. I didn't look into it. Maybe another video, let's see. He could have been Dionysus or Zagreus as well, though. His symbol was as the torchbearer, suggesting that his role was to lead the way back to from the underworld for Persephone. Removing his symbol was dousing the torches in Artemis' Call. One version says that Eubalius was a swineherd who was feeding his pigs as the opening to the underworld opened when Persephone was abducted by Hades. His swine were swallowed by the earth alongside her in some tales. And then we have Chrysothemis. So this one was the Queen of Naxos, island home of Dionysus, where Dionysus met his own wife Ariadne, whom he stole from Theseus, but that's a story for another day. May not actually be related to Demeter at all. So I saw one source say that she was a daughter of Demeter, and at the time, there was so much conflicting information, I was like, you know what, this one's gonna be my, jumping off point. This is gonna be the one I rely on the most and trust. And it was the only place I could find any information of her being a child of Demeter. There was definitely multiple people named Chrysothemis, though. Just may not have been a child of Demeter at all. But whatever, it rounded me out. Check your facts, kid, don't be like me. Be smarter, you can do better. Don't go, this is the one source I'll use, and not check anywhere else. Be smarter than me. So, that is Demeter, her children, and the cult of Demeter in a little nutshell. Very quick Terra Teaches, because, again, Demeter has, like, no information. There's, like, nothing on her. I do love her in Hades, though. I was really upset that I couldn't just, like, make these pop up, like, normal. I'll troubleshoot that another day. Man, so many troubleshooting for another day. This is what happens. I keep saying, oh, I'll troubleshoot it another day, and then another day comes, and I'm like, oh yeah, forgot about that. What happens when the brain still goes ping, 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 ping.